All right, guys, this is day 2. I think yesterday we had like a 6-hour day. What do you think, 6-hour day? Like a 6-hour day reloading. And so up to this point, let me show you what we got. Just to rehash everything, we expanded the necks 1/1000th of an inch and uniformed them. Then we turned the necks. After we turned the necks, we found out that I didn't have to put them back through a full-length resizing die. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you might have to put them back into a full-length resizing die or use an expander ball to bring them back up. But I had exactly 1/1000th neck tension, and that's where I'm going to run my loads is 1/1000th. I actually ordered a new bushing from Widden. I had several bushings, but I had to order another one for this one. So I'll show you that in another video. Then we cleaned them, and then we primed them. And so we've got 100 rounds. This is 50. We've got the other 50 right there. We've got 100 rounds, and so what we've done is we've set up both of our Charge Masters, calibrated them to each other, and what we're going to do is use one to throw, both of them to throw, one to consistently measure off of. In case you want to know, this is a Dandy Products trickler, and it works pretty nice. You just give it a little push on the button, and it'll trickle in for you. Now, I will tell you, if you don't know who Eric Cortina is, you should look up his site. It's Eric Cortina on YouTube. I think pretty much everything that we've learned from somebody who learned from him. So I'm going to give him the credit for pretty much all of my loads here, other than a few things we may do different. Now, one of the things he does, which is the reason we do this, is he has a jeweler's scale. I don't have a jeweler's scale yet. Reloading is expensive, so we're just getting it as we can get it. And so the next thing on the list to have a complete set would be the FX120i jeweler's scale. But Eric Cortina did a video where you can watch it on YouTube, where he takes the Charge Master and he throws it under. So let's say our charge needs to be 44 grains of powder. He charges 43.8 and then he trickles up to the 44, right? And so he wrote down everything, and he was like, how much was it, Sway? Like, it was unbelievable, like 1/100,000th off over 50 cases or something. It's
pretty close.
Is very close. So it is absolutely not as precise as an FX120i will get you. But, I mean, I've shot thousands of rounds, and it works great. So don't be afraid to just get the Charge Master and trickle up. And also, don't be afraid to get just a beam scale if you're just starting out. A beam scale will work, and just, trickle up and make sure it's consistent every time. And so what we're going to do today is all of these are test rounds. So on all of these test rounds, we are charging, and we're coming under, and we're starting at, what are we starting at?
41.7.
And what are we going to?
We're gonna probably slowly trickle up to maybe possibly 43 grains is what we'll do. So we'll do 3 grain increments for the first
3/10 of a grain.
3/10 of a grain, sorry. 3/10 of a grain for all the way probably up to 42.5. Now 42.5 is gonna be, getting pretty hot. So after 42.5, we'll probably go in 2/10 increments, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little bit darker on the video production. We have to shut the garage for this because if you have wind going, the wind underneath here will change what the scale is reading, and it makes it pretty miserable. Okay, so to try to re-explain that in easy terms, we're starting and we'll go 42.7 or 41.7, and then 42, 42.3, 42.6, 42.9, and then I think we'll go to 43. And if we decide to go up, we'll go 42.2. Here's how I start. Now, you can look in the book. If you don't have a place to start, my recommendation is look in the book and start at the very bottom and work your way through to the very maximum load, okay? And as soon as you start seeing pressure marks, you stop. So I've seen some guys on the forum, so I look between Accurate Shooter, Long Range Hunter, and Sniper's Hide. There's a lot of guys that really know what they're doing there. And so I find their loads, and I say, okay, what's going to be in my range? Where do I think it's going to be? What's going too fast? What's going too slow? And I compare it to a couple of nights of research to see where everybody's at. If I didn't have that ability, I would use the book, start at the bottom, work my way up to the top. Usually to do a load the way that we do it, if you have to start at the bottom and work to the top, is about 200 rounds, maybe 250. And I know a lot of people say, gosh, that's too many rounds to shoot to build a load, but that does a couple of things for you on a brand new rifle. One of them is it speeds the barrel up. And the second one is it gets you in tune with that rifle very well. And being comfortable with that rifle and shooting it over and over and being able to print little groups it's a big deal. You'd be surprised. So after we load these, what we do is we take a Sharpie marker and did you already write on them?
I did those already. So
we take the Sharpie marker and we just write on it. 41.7 and we continue to write on it. Now I just read on Facebook last night that there was a group that said they found out that marking on your cases increases the velocity.
It increases their pressure, right? Not velocity, pressure? I thought it was pressure.
No, it increases the velocity 10 feet per second. So is that true? Listen, I really don't know.
I think it's a joke.
But what I'm going to do is I don't know if it was a prank or a joke or what, but it was like, I don't know, 10, 15 guys that were agreeing on it. So if that's the case, I guess I've been messing up the whole time, but I don't think so. So what we'll do is when I finally get my load, we'll compare it. I do it every time anyway, so we'll compare it to get the last portion of it on the speed. But so this is what we do. We start out and we go ahead and write on them, and the Sharpie marker comes off whenever you when you tumble them. So don't worry about marking your cases up. And if you ever go to a match, you're going to mark them anyway, so you know which brass is yours, so you don't lose this $1.20 brass, you know. So anyway, so we're going to continue on right here. I'll just show you a couple of them, and we'll just continue on right here where what were we at? 41.7 for this one. So we're at 41.4. I take the trickler. This way is the slow way. This way is a little faster. See how when it fast it went up. So you just push on the slow one until it starts to vibrate down. See it coming down. If you just went to 41.7 on a Charge Master, we have found out that when you do that, it'll load a little bit more, and it almost loads up to 41.8. But when you trickle into it like this and you don't go over, it makes it almost exact with a regular scale.
Send me a picture real quick.
Let's see. 41. There it is. 41.7. I don't put any more in. I come right here and
okay.
Let's see. I don't know if I can do this with this. Dump that in there, Swag. And then we catch the next one.
Okay. All right, bro.
All right, so
All right, bye.
in thinking about this, just off the top of my head, when we load this group, this is the same thing as shooting a ladder test that some people do, where they'll load 3 of each round, take it out to 200 or 300 meters, and then they'll fire and try to find their water line. This is almost the exact same thing, except this is actually getting the perfection of that, where I'm gonna have 5 lines on my water line, and that's what I'm looking for. And so I load 5 of each one of these cases all the way through, and then I'll explain some more, but that's how we find our standard deviation in our node, and we're shrinking that down to where we're having the most consistent shots there are. So this is, this is a fairly short process. Usually takes about an hour to be able to do this portion of it, and then we'll go shoot. But so for now, this is what we're doing. We're going to keep going up, and all those increments keep writing on them. I'll let you know how it goes from there, but I'll let you know the next step. But this is this step, and we'll go from, like I said, 41.7 to 43. Maybe we'll get a little bit crazy and go to 43.5. And if we go over our powder charge, like as soon as we see ejector marks and pressure signs on the brass, we stop.
Full disclosure, man, everybody's rifle's different. So if you guys haven't ever done this, go by the book, but know that you're taking your own risk, if you will. So
That's
keep that
right.
in mind.
That's right. This is all how I do it. This is not how I suggest you do it. One thing is though, one of the things that you'll read different on people's loads is, let's say their load is 44.2, and then you load it up and your load is 44.5. That's probably not the difference in the load. It's probably the difference in the scale.
Or lots of powder.
Or lots of powder, right? So that's why you can't just take somebody's load and say, hey, I just read that these guys' load was 44.2 grains of H4350 and a 6mm Creedmoor, and they're in a standard deviation of 2, and everything's great for them. They're shooting really good. Lots of powder, lots of primers, lots of brass, lots of bullets, lots of, and the scale. All of those come into play, which is why when we're using this Charge Master, we're throwing out of both, but only measuring off of one, right?
Well, and I'll show them right now what we have here, and hopefully this throws. Both of them were calibrated with the weights. The pans are the same to each scale, and if this one throws 41.4, I'll show you right now the difference of just going from one scale to another. It's gonna take it a little bit, but it'll get there. That was an overthrow. Let's try it again.
Now this is just for this portion of it. We would have, because we're doing 41.7, we would have just kept trickling up from the 41.6 and used that case. But like I said, one thing that's really important to know, guys, is there could be more grains of powder that come out. So if you're loading, let's say 44, and there's like 3 or 4 kernels before it actually will register the next one for you. So that's why we trickle up. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I don't know if I explained it well. Sometimes I explained it in my head right, and then I didn't really explain it right. So
what Eric Cortina found out is that these Charge Masters are accurate, but they're more accurate whenever you slowly trickle up, and you have to give them a little bit. If you go and you throw your perfect charge and you go and you grab that pan right away, sometimes if you give it a moment or two, it'll change, But I'll give you an example right now, and they're off by, of course, this one's 41.5, this one's reading 41.4, right? So we're gonna take this pan off. Spilled some powder there. And this one's reading 41.4. This one's reading 41.6. This one's reading 41.4.
So there's 0.2 of a grain difference. They're both Charge Masters. We actually bought both of these Charge Masters within not very long of each other. We both got them almost at the same time a few years ago. And so 2 different scales, 0.2 of a grain off. Now, because mine consistently reads 0.2 of a grain higher than his, my consistency is correct, and so is his consistency. So we could go off either scale, we just can't go off both at the same time. And so that will apply to you as well, where you read a post that somebody shot, 44 grains and you're 44.2 grains to make it work. A lot of it probably will be your scale. That would be where I first started. Then your lot of powder, your lot of bullet, your lot of primer, that can change it as well. I spoke to the owner of Hodgkins Powder, and he told me that we really shouldn't have that problem anymore. We'll figure out with this new powder if that's the case. But really, a lot of it will literally just be your scale, right? So anyway, I think you got the gist of this video. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue on loading from the 41.7 all the way up to the 43 or 43.5. And then before we seat the bullets, I'll explain that part to you in this next one. Anyway, guys, appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe if this helps you at all. shoot, comment if you hated it. Comment if you liked it. I don't care. Anyway, guys, appreciate you. Ponder on it.